oh, that's their sign. They don't want to talk.
It's like my downtime for my kids. I'm like, I don't want to sit here and talk about my life and what I've been up to. And
so this is how you do the numbing cream. So now we've got their outlines really beautiful. And then
this is the same cream that's in our kit?
Yes, so this is Zensa. This one is actually from Canada, and it has gone through like their FDA approval. So this is like one of the very few that is actually goes through all that testing and has like the insurance behind it in their company. But it's I found it interesting. It's from Canada, so probably their testing is different. But it's
our testing sucks on stuff.
Yeah, I think it's probably better.
Yeah.
So we have used the Zensa, and the nice part about Zensa is you can use it on both open and closed skin. So what that means is this is her closed skin, so we can put Zensa on. It's 5% lidocaine, and then once we do the channels and we renumb, you can also use Zensa. The BLT cream that we've used before, or like we've had a couple different ones. If you guys get prescription creams, those are almost always only on closed skin, and then you need to get a gel for the open skin, or you could use your Zensa. So the reason, so the reason why we've picked this one is because then it's open and closed combined, so you just have this one tube, and you can put it on throughout the training. And I was telling them that you'll probably be my voice for once I start, but
yeah.
And have any of you guys looked at her hair and her skin and tried to guess what color I used?
I guess Navajo. Darker one.
Anybody?
You guys see any undertones?
Like a reddish.
So she has a little bit of that reddiness to her. So you want to make sure that there is the yellow and the orange.
Can you hand me my book right in there? I want to look at that.
And I almost think, because I looked at it and I know that we used Navajo on you the last time, Elisa, but I almost think, I'm trying to remember, I think the very first time when she first got it done, she was really, really nervous about being too dark. I think even though her hair was dark and her brows were dark, we mixed Mochaccino and Navajo. And then that way she was able to, when it heals, it gets a little bit darker and a little more intense, and it wasn't quite so huge of a shock. And then I remember when you came back for your touch-up, you were ready to go a little bit darker.
Yeah. That happens.
So the Navajo and Ungray?
Yes. And so I would even, since Ungray is orange,
Do you use Gray Vanish as well?
I would use probably a little bit of the non-violet to put some of that yellow in.
So, you're only numbing right in the line. You don't go outside the line at all?
Mm-mm. Because you shouldn't be microblading outside the line. And you guys can see how I'm making sure that it's saturated, but I'm not messing with the line. Because if you lose your outline while you're microblading, it's no fun. In the tail, you have to be really, really careful.
I think you have these.
Okay.
I think that's right.
She was sitting beside me, so they should be hers.
I don't need to check the kit.
So, do we have the saran wrap?
Yep.
Awesome. So I always put saran wrap on once I've numbed them, and that helps with transdermal absorption. So if people are wondering why, it helps your skin to absorb the numbing cream better because it helps to take away the air and provides a little more heat from your body. And that means that it'll speed up the numbing process just a
Do you want me to
little
press
bit.
start? Do you want?
Yeah, do you mind? So it's 20 minutes. If someone says they know they don't numb very good, they're really, really worried about pain, then I set it for 30 minutes. And then also, so I used a pretty good amount. I'll probably add a little bit more numbing cream into here, so that way, because once you start with the microblading procedure, you can't like touch bottles and go and add more stuff, because then you're putting around, you're doing all those bloodborne pathogens. Just getting germs. So then I just have that full, so that way when I'm using it during the procedure, this is put away, and all I have out is my ring. And I usually have my numbing cream on one finger, and then my pigment ring is going to be on this finger. So we've got our numbing started. Oh,
She's got one for you.
oh, thank you.
Can you add numbing before the 20 minutes?
Well, so this is, what do you mean?
Like if they're hurting.
Oh, so, okay, so that's a good question. Okay, so here's how, let me do this really quick. I just gently put it on. You don't want to, I see people like pressing it down because they really want it on there, but that will make it so that the numbing cream can spread into your outline. And then I have 2 different sheets because what you'll do is when you take off the numbing cream, you're not going to take it off on both sides. You're going to leave this side covered and continuing to numb while you're not working on it. So what you were asking is with the numbing cream. Yes, technically you could, but for me, I do, so this is where the passes come. I do 1 whole pass with this first numbing cream. So I open up as much of the channels that I can.
She
So
does
that
her
way,
outline when
yeah.
she says pass.
1 pass is, thank you. I forget, I say pass like everyone
Yeah.
knows what it is. So the pass is I do my bulb, I do my transition, I do the arch, I come and do the rolling hills, and I close up the tail. Then I also go through, and it's not a huge space. You can see how this space on the eyebrows doesn't leave room for a ton of strokes. I go through and I do add some of the, I call them the guts, but the body, the inside of the brow.
Mm-hmm.
I add all of the strokes that I can in the first pass because then what you do is once it's open and you move on to this side, you can re-numb all of that. So that way when you go back over, you can make sure that so like with our light-handed people, the second pass, you'll go through and you'll make sure that you've made all of the channels exactly as deep as they need to be. Or if you're like, okay, the pigment soaks in so you can see it a little bit better. Once the pigment's soaked in, you're like, oh, okay, I do want 1 stroke right here. And then that's where you can add it. And with the training, we only do 2 passes because less is more. You don't want to go and really roughen up their brow. You want to still make sure the skin is really intact instead of doing a 3rd pass. And I've never done a 4th pass.
So
and
if I go too light, you can go back and...
If you go too light, you'll put the pigment in and then you can go through and make that channel, just etch it out just a little bit. And it's numbed again. So that's why the open skin now is numbing. So that way they still don't feel it. And most of the time on the second pass is when they feel it least amount. Lots of times people feel it about a 3 or a 5 on their first pass. And then once they've numbed it the second pass, that's when you can really make sure that all the details are there because they're a little more relaxed too. Don't you feel like that,
Yeah.
Melanie?
Yeah, and if you're going over a channel again, I mean, you don't need to apply as much pressure either, just because you've already started it. And that, it's always not the best to do, but if it's not deep enough, then you do need to.
I feel like I'm gonna go to make the first cut and not even like break skin.
I think this that was the channel.
Oh, was
If you look towards the end, there's like a really long, thick one.
I was gonna ask you guys too. What's the difference between the aqua? Because that's what we